Okay, fight fans and fight fiends, I'm Manny Montreal, and you're watching my Canelo Triple G 2 hangover video. We're gonna go over all the stats, scorecards, and other information I was able to pull together about this fight. We're gonna discuss whether or not it was a robbery, whether people have a right to call it a robbery, whether the right man won, whether or not it was an actually close fight. Now, there's a bunch of stuff that we could go through and talk about. I really wanted to make this really cool video and put in all my graphics and, titles and pictures and stuff. But we're going to do this quick and dirty because the truth is I just don't have the time or the finances to continue doing that. So this is as good as you're going to get. And seeing as how there's probably only about 30 of you watching this, I don't feel bad about the production value. So, that being said, let's just go over the fight real quick. If the first one was close, this one was razor sharp close. I was saying that the first fight I would have been okay with a draw. Well, here we are again. Now, just to give you a general idea, I'm going to give you, I have a list on my social media. By the way, all my social media accounts are for sale. If anyone's interested, serious offers only. That being said, if you go on my social media accounts, I shared a picture that I was able to pull together from basically a whole bunch of boxing knowledgeable people scoring the fight. Just to give you a general idea, there was over 34 people. Most of them scored it for Triple G. A few people called it a draw, and even less called it for Canelo. Although that's not what the judges obviously scored, and this is normally where I would throw up the graphic and you guys could look at the scores and stuff, but it's on my social media, and it's on Google, so, Google it. That being said, Russ Amber scored at 115, 114 Triple G. Brian Campbell from CBS scored at 116, 112 Triple G. Dan Rayfield from ESPN scored it a draw. Teddy Atlas and Stephen A. Smith both called it for Triple G. USA Today had it 115, 113 for Triple G. Sports Illustrated called it a draw. The LA Times gave it to Triple G. Dougie Fisher from Ring Magazine called it a draw. Al Bernstein from Showtime called it a draw. The New York Post called it a draw. The Journal de Montréal, Mathieu Boulet called it a draw. Look, that's a lot of people, man. That's a lot of people. And, here's the thing. If you're watching this video, I guess my scorecard's the only one you give a fuck about, and hopefully that's true. I initially scored it 117, 111. I gave all the rounds to Triple G except the 5th, 6th, and 7th. Now that's me. I could be wrong. 117, 111, after rewatching it 5 times and 1 time in slow motion, I realized my gap was actually wide. But this is what happens when you have a 10-point must system. It's very complicated stuff. But that being said, if you consider, for me, the third round, the 8th round, the 11th, and the 12th were all swing rounds. And when I say a swing round, I'll explain myself a little later, but you'll see what I'm talking about. So, while we put that on pause, let's look at what the punch stat percentages say. Now, when I say percentages, a punch percentage rate is calculated on how many punches somebody has thrown and landed. Therefore, if you throw less but land more and the gap's smaller, you have a better percentage. So based on a round per round percentage, I actually give the fight to Alvarez. If you go by a round per round percentage, first round, third round, and everything from the 6th down, Canelo scored at a better percentage. Now, if we go look at the damage from the punch stats, which means actual landed punches per round, who landed more punches each round. So if we break down the numbers, it's pretty much a wash. 116, 112 for Triple G. Still the 6th, the 7th, the 11th, and the 12th would all go to Canelo. Now, if you notice the differences between those numbers, it's pretty much those same things I said about those swing rounds. There was a couple rounds that were really tough to judge. Now, you might ask yourself, well, how did you score these rounds, Manny? Well, when I went back and rewatched it after my initial 117-111 score, I broke it down into 30-second intervals. So each round had 6 frames, and I would give the nod, basically who won the first 30-second interval, and then the following 30-second interval until the round was finished. Now, by doing this, I was able to score each round out of a possible 6 out of 6. Rounds 1, I had it 4-2 Triple G. Round 2, I had it 5-1 Triple G. Round 3, I had it 4-2 Triple G. Round 4, 4-2 again. Round 5 is actually 5-1 for Canelo. Round 5 is a round that goes to Canelo according to this. Round 6, 4-2 Canelo. Round 7, 4-2 Canelo. Round 8 goes back to Triple G, 4-2 for him. Round 9, 4-2. Round 10, 4-2. Round 11, 4-2. And round 12 was actually 6-0 for Triple G. Round 12 being the only round that he completely, technically dominated based on these 30-second observations I was making. So basically, out of a possible 6, the only round that was fully dominant, technically speaking, in my point of view, was round 12. And that's weird considering everybody is saying that Triple G gave up round 12, even his coach. That being said, round 3, round 8, round 11, and round 12, like I said before, did have a potential to be swing rounds. And when I say this, I mean even by judging by 30-second intervals. There were times in those 30-second intervals where I could have gave that 30 seconds to either guy. Either, and this rarely happened, I believe it only happened twice in the fight where there was a 30-second break where one guy basically just threw 1 or 2 punches during the round and won the 30-second interval that I was calculating. So that could be a swing round because, I mean, both guys weren't really throwing anything. The other thing that could be a swing round is rounds that were highly energetic and a lot of punches were traded. And in that 30 seconds, even if you're counting punches, it worked out to like 29-28. So then it's a question of time. If I would have let it go another 5 seconds, maybe that would be Canelo's round. So that being said, if we were to switch those swing rounds I just mentioned and alternate it and give those 30-second intervals to Canelo, then Canelo would win the fight 115-113 in my book, giving him the 3rd, 8th, 11th, and 12th round. That's kind of interesting. And if you look at Harold Lederman's card, he had a 116-112. But, I mean, I love Harold, and he's usually right. But after watching it 5 times, I've got it a lot closer now. And the way I finally decided to score it, despite everything, is 115-113 for Triple G. The thing is, he was the champ. And for me, in order to beat a champ, you gotta beat the champ. And although Canelo has come very close twice, I don't think he's done it yet. And what bothers me is that Canelo did a beautiful job. There's a lot of things that I noticed about Canelo in this fight that I didn't notice in the past. He rolls and slips with punches so well. He absorbs them. He takes them. You know, and it made his game plan of attacking Triple G all that much better. He gave Triple G exactly what I wanted him to give, and yet Triple G was fighting off the back foot. There was only one instance in this entire fight where Triple G had Canelo up against the ropes. Canelo did a fantastic job. And I would have been okay with 2 draws. But it is what it is. The bottom line is this. Nobody should call this a robbery. It was an extremely close fight. And like I said, if you break it down to 30 seconds, it's really, really close. I don't care what the punch stats say. The best way to watch this fight is in slow motion and breaking it up in 30-second intervals. You'll really get an idea of how close this frickin' fight is. You know, Triple G threw 118 jabs compared to Canelo's 59. But Canelo was more accurate with his jabs. Power shots, Canelo was more accurate and landed more. Total shots, Triple G still landed more, but Canelo was more accurate. So he was more accurate, he was in the pocket, he was aggressive, he did everything right. The truth is, I think the buildup of this fight causes everyone to need a knockout somehow. For me, I'm not disappointed, I'm not disgusted, I'm not angry. I'm praying Triple G has another one in him. I want to see a trilogy. This is the type of fight that lives forever. When something is highly contested like this, it's good for the sport. It's not bad. This isn't the first fight with the wide scoring of Adelaide Bird that threw everything into the fucking garbage. This is an actually close fight between the 2 best boxers in that weight class, period. Fantastic fight. That's it for me this week, guys. Sorry about the production value, but it is what it is. Final note, just remember what Floyd Mayweather was able to do to Canelo.